Most people think prison takes everything from you. They're right, except for the one thing that actually matters. My name is Michael Smith. I'm 76 years old, and I need to tell you something that took me 32 years to understand. Not 32 days, not 32 months, 32 years. That's how long I've been in prison, and that's how long I thought I was living without love. I was wrong. I grew up believing love was something you held on to, something you owned. My parents had it. A small house in Ohio, a cracked driveway, a kitchen that always smelled like coffee. My father worked construction. My mother worked retail. They weren't rich, but every Friday night, without fail, there was pizza on the table. Every Sunday morning, there were pancakes. I didn't know it then, but I was watching love in action. I just thought it was dinner. By the time I was 30, I had built a version of that same life for myself. I worked in auto repair, long hours, honest money. I liked fixing broken things and making them run again, and I had a woman named Sarah. I want to be careful with how I describe her because she deserves more than cliches. Sarah was the kind of person who made the room feel different when she walked into it. Not because she was loud or dramatic, because she was genuinely, completely present. When she looked at you, you felt seen. She stole fries off my plate even when she ordered her own. She sang with the radio and never apologized for being off-key. She made plans the way people do when they actually believe the future is going to happen. A house, kids, a dog, growing old together. I believed every word of it. I believed her. I believed us. Then I made a decision that cost me everything. I won't dress it up. I won't make it poetic. One moment of anger, one choice I can never take back. And the life I had built collapsed in a single afternoon. The courtroom, the verdict, the sentence. And then, the last image I carry from that day, Sarah standing in the back of the room, crying so hard her whole body shook. I looked at her and I wanted to say something. I didn't, because I had nothing true to offer her. At first, she wrote to me, long letters, pages and pages. She wrote about ordinary things, the weather, a movie she saw, something funny that happened at work. And somehow those ordinary things felt like the most precious words I had ever read. I folded and unfolded those letters so many times the paper went soft. I memorized sentences I never meant to memorize. And then, slowly, the letters got shorter. Then they came less often. Then one day, they stopped. And I told myself a story about what that silence meant. I told myself love was gone, that I had used up my share of it, that a man who does what I did doesn't get to have that kind of warmth in his life anymore. I believed that story for years. The first decade inside was the hardest thing I have ever survived. Not because of violence, not because of fear, because of invisibility. You can be surrounded by hundreds of people and still feel like a ghost. You miss things you never thought to be grateful for. A conversation with someone who knows your history. A hand on your shoulder from someone who actually cares. The simple, human experience of mattering to another person. I closed myself off. I figured if love was gone, the safest thing was to stop looking for it. But something kept happening that I didn't expect. I kept seeing it anyway. A man on my block who had very little, giving half of what he had to someone who had nothing. An older inmate spending hours teaching a younger one to read. Nobody asked him to. Nobody rewarded him. He just did it. A guy who sat next to me one afternoon after I got bad news from home. He didn't say a word. He just sat there. That was it. That was the whole gesture. And somehow, it was enough. I started to understand something that I wish someone had told me when I was young. Love is not a location. It is not a person you possess or a relationship you maintain. Love is something that moves through people and leaves a mark. Sarah was gone from my life, but the way she loved me, The patience she showed, the kindness she extended, the way she made me feel like I was worth something. That didn't leave when she did. It stayed. It changed how I spoke to people. It changed how I listened. Her love became part of who I was, and I carried it into every friendship I formed inside those walls, whether I knew it or not. She shaped me, and you cannot take that away. My parents died while I was inside, both of them. I didn't get to say goodbye to either one. That is a grief that doesn't resolve. You just learn to carry it without letting it crush you. But even in that loss, something else was happening. I was forming real friendships, the kind you only form when there's no pretense left. When it's 2 in the morning and there's nowhere to hide and you're just two human beings telling each other the truth. Those friendships filled something in me I had written off as permanently empty. And then came the hardest part. Not grief, not loneliness, not even the weight of what I had done. The hardest part was learning to forgive myself. For years I believed I didn't deserve warmth, that every time someone showed me kindness, I was receiving something I had no right to. Shame does that. It tells you that you are the exception, that grace is for everyone else. It took me nearly 30 years to stop believing that. But when I did, when I finally, quietly let myself off the hook for being human and broken and capable of terrible things, something opened up in me. I could feel again. Not the way I felt at 30, full of confidence and assumption. Something more honest than that. Something that had been tested and had survived. I am an old man now, and I want to tell you what I know. I did not spend 32 years without love. I spent 32 years learning what love actually is. It is not about proximity. It is not about possession. It is not about having someone next to you when you fall asleep. Love is impact. It is the permanent mark one person leaves on another. It is the way a mother's patience lives on in her son's voice when he speaks to someone who is struggling. It is the way a woman who left 20 years ago still shapes the way a man treats the people around him. Love doesn't require presence to survive. It only requires that it was real. If you are watching this and your life has not gone the way you planned, and I mean that broadly because loss comes in many forms, I want you to hear this. The love you've experienced is not lost. The people who shaped you permanently. The kindness you were shown is still alive in how you move through the world. And the love you are capable of giving has not expired. It is still there, waiting for you to believe you deserve to offer it. If I could say one thing to the younger version of myself, the one being led out of that courtroom in handcuffs while Sarah cried in the back of the room, it would be this. The love in that room is not ending. It is changing form. And 30 years from now, you will still be carrying it. That is what I know. Love does not leave when people leave. It stays in what they built inside you. And sometimes, that is enough to last a lifetime. Thank you for listening.